People are starting to notice that the scale has started to creep back up. Has he fallen off of his diet? Bro, I'm so glad we're recording because I have a lot to say about this. Food is hugely, massively important, but it ain't everything. I mean, I was on blood pressure medication when I was just a teenager. I remember going to the surgeon, but you really don't have anything to worry about. You need to eat a hamburger.
When you're in the public image of whole food plant-based, you have to be this perfect picture of health, and I think that's why
I knew coming out here I was going to put everything on the podcast.
All right, a little interruption before we get into today's episode. So I run these shows ad-free. We will never take on sponsors because everything is self-funded through our Fit Vegan coaching program. So if you enjoy these shows, the best way to support is obviously to subscribe to the channel. But also, if you know anyone over the age of 50 that is looking to improve their body composition, combat sarcopenia, combat osteoporosis, get healthier on a whole food plant-based lifestyle, to simply send them our way at fitvegancoaching.com, because we are the best in the world in helping people over 50 transform. We have over 1,000 transformation in 20 different countries. So simply send them our way. In addition to that, a percentage of our profit monthly goes towards supporting cancer patients with their treatments and bills and whatever they may need to support themselves and their family. So you're also supporting additional people outside of the work that we'd be doing in the program. That is all I have for you today, so enjoy the episode. All right, good morning everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan Podcast. Today I have a very special guest in our house in LA, Mr. Chuck Carroll himself. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Don't clap too hard, brother.
Yeah, I can't clap too hard. I'm injured now. Awesome, man. Excited to have you at our house.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
I love hanging out with you, and when the opportunity arose to come and do the show with you, it was can't pass it up, man.
Yeah, we got to play golf yesterday.
Yeah.
Go play some pool.
Yeah.
Kick some butt.
Dude, your wife is a pool shark.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
Legitimately a pool shark.
Yeah.
I know I'm not a good pool player. I was not prepared for how good your wife actually was.
Yeah, she kicked both of our butts.
No question.
Yeah.
No question.
But on the golf, you got some good drives out there.
Thank you. And honestly, thank you for that. That was a lot of fun. I hadn't been to a driving range in like 15 years. So just to swing a club again was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the beautiful LA weather. Just trying to make the most out of the trip.
Can't beat it. Yeah.
Well, you're here today. We're going to talk about your transformation. So by the time this episode comes out live, I think we've already announced that you're going to be in the Fit Vegan program.
Yes.
You're going to be starting your transformation with us. But I think there's certain things that the world is asking and that we need to address, and we'll use this opportunity to kind of address the comments and kind of how your whole transformation journey has been going.
Yeah, there's a lot that we haven't talked about on the exam room. So we're kind of diving into an exclusive, and I'm almost hoping today, in all seriousness, man, will be a little bit cathartic.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting past few years, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive into it. Let's kind of set the context for people that, again, potentially don't know who you are, which I doubt, because you've done a really good job at building a name for yourself.
Thank you.
But kind of share a little bit of your transformation. You've lost over 300 pounds.
Close to. Yeah. So at my heaviest, I was 420 pounds, and I'm 5'5" on a good day.
Yeah.
And so that got me all the way up to a 66-inch waist, 6XL shirt, and chest pains, most importantly, in my early 20s.
Yeah.
Blood pressure out of control. I mean, I was on blood pressure medication when I was just a teenager. I had barely started high school when I started to take beta blockers, because it was like 180 over 100 consistently. And they were like, oh my gosh, what's
crazy.
going on? Yeah. And I learned over that time that food can be as addictive as any substance out there. And I was hooked in a major way.
Yeah, well, I've seen a few of your talks, and obviously I've had you on the show before, but you had a specific menu.
Taco Bell, my daily fix, yeah. And I call it my fix because, I do view that type of food as a drug. And so, there could be variations in my diet throughout the other part of the day, but I had to have Taco Bell. And if I didn't, I was a grumpy Gus.
Yeah.
And, and so it was like, get this, see if you could picture eating all of this in one sitting. 2 7-layer burritos, 2 beef grilled stuffed burritos, a nachos Bel Grande, a chicken quesadilla, a cheesy potato burrito, and because I was a good customer, single-handedly keeping this particular Taco Bell in business, they would give me a free caramel empanada. And so what is that? That's 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 items
for the day?
From that was my fix every day.
Okay.
So that was one meal. And
Yeah.
so that was somewhere in the ballpark of close to 4,300 calories, more than 10,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 grams of fat. Like, it was just a lot.
You were carved up.
Carved up, fatted up. I was like all kinds of upped, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And it was on a first name basis. And I don't know what it is about that Taco Bell, what they did in particular to make me crave that so much, but they did a masterful job.
Yeah. What did the rest of the day look like if that was one of the meals?
I think when I give a talk, I talk about like what my menu was like as close as possible to when I had weight loss surgery, and that would have been like a half of an entire roasted chicken and 3 large sides from like a Boston market.
Yeah.
I thought that was healthy. It was roasted chicken. How bad could that possibly be? I knew macaroni and cheese probably wasn't the healthiest, but the cream spinach was. And then, you know, I'd stop off at 7-Eleven and get taquitos, 6 of them, which are right by the hot dogs there, and 2 big bottles of Gatorade, drink that as a snack, eat that as a snack on my drive home. And then I would eat 1.5 to 2 pizzas and then go to Taco Bell. So that was what my menu was at my worst right before weight loss surgery. Completely out of control.
So what made you want to decide to do the weight loss surgery at that point? And have you explored a different path before?
Oh my gosh, I had tried every diet known to man. I had even endorsed diets on the radio, you know, trying to lose weight.
Yeah, it's a cardboard cookie one, I think.
Yeah, the cookie diet, man. And those cookies just did not taste like cookies. Tasted like anything other than a cookie. It was a really hard diet to follow without much guidance, mind you. They're just like, eat one for breakfast, drink water, eat one for lunch, drink water, and then have a sensible dinner. And they never defined what that was. Just make sure maybe there's a vegetable on your plate.
Yeah.
And that was it. But
just pizza with broccoli on it, basically.
Sensible, right? Yeah, man, my goodness gracious. So, and before that, there was just like all kinds of like processed food diets and eat every 2 hours. Yeah. It's like, well, get your metabolism up. Well, that's not going to work if you're eating like pork burritos every 2 hours, right?
I think it just makes it worse. I got to eat this 6 times a day now.
It compounded the problem for sure.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, man. Geez Louise, everything except the cabbage soup diet, basically, I would try.
Yeah.
And had some success, put it all back on and then some, had some success, put it all back on and then some, and eventually got all the way up to 420.
And so that's when you decide to do the surgery at that point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because in my early 20s, already having chest pains, knowing my family's history with heart disease. Never met my dad's dad because he died of a heart attack before I was born. My mom's dad, my granddaddy, he had a number of heart attacks, had to have quadruple bypass surgery. My own dad has had his struggles with the heart, and I was just on the heart attack superhighway, man. Yeah.
And how old were you when you got the surgery?
It was literally just a couple of days after my 27th birthday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what was the protocol after you got the surgery? Because you basically got your stomach attached, right?
Yeah, it shrinks down. I mean, so picture this as your whole stomach, and then, you know, they just basically staple off this part and they leave you the thumb.
Oh, wow.
And so, like, it's about 4 ounces of food or fluid that you can fit in there at that point. So this part of my stomach is still there.
Yeah.
It's just stapled off. To this day, it's still there. It's just not doing anything. But over time, like, this will expand back out, and you get a, you know, pretty full-size pouch again, you know, about like this.
From that original tissue from the thumb size.
Yeah, so, like, the stomach tissue is very much elastic.
Yeah.
And it's like a balloon, and you blow it up over time. It expands again. So, you know, I can put away a pretty good-sized meal. I eat relatively slow, but that's about it. But I'll still eat a pretty healthy portion now. But that's what people don't realize. So if you see somebody who has weight loss surgery and they go back to eating the way that they were beforehand, it's because their stomach has expanded. But initially, you know, you're on just fluids for a couple of weeks, then pureed, and then soft foods, and then eventually you graduate back to eating kind of whatever you want.
So that's crazy. So basically shrinking it down to the size of a thumb, but then the thumb size tissue has the opportunity to kind of expand.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I've I heard a little bit about it, but what happens if the stitches give out? Because then you got that thumb size that grew to basically a full stomach, plus you still have all the other tissue there.
Yeah, I've never really tried too hard to test that.
For sure.
I kind of did not want to have an emergency surgery. I would assume that basically, I mean, honestly, I don't know. Because they also rerouted a portion of your intestine. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, to be honest with you.
Okay.
That's a good question, and I hope I never have to find out.
Yeah, I hope you don't too. I was just curious. I was like, if it's still there technically, because I knew they would attach it, but for some reason I thought they would take that part out so that you would never regain access to it.
It's just, think of it as like, I don't know, like
It's like balloon
sealing up-
animals,
yeah.
basically, like
Yeah,
when they twist it
exactly,
and they make a new part.
exactly, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So when you transition over and you mentioned like liquids and pure and kind of like soft foods, like
Yeah.
your calorie daily intake must have dropped significantly.
Plummeted, especially the first 2 weeks when it was like the big treat was like Powerade Zero.
Yeah.
Not even protein powder, and just like Powerade Zero. And so, yeah, I mean, next to no calories for the first couple of weeks, which no big deal when you're that large. I mean, you have sufficient storage for
For a while.
a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, to put it mildly. So, I mean, like we were seeing like 20 plus pound weight loss in each of the first 2 weeks. So,
Yeah,
I mean, like I was just like really gushing weight. Come to find out, like a lot of that was just inflammation that had been stored in my body too.
Yeah. Water retention from all the
Just-
sodium.
yeah. Major. My body just like detoxed.
Yeah. And how long did it take to drop like almost a full 300 pounds?
About a year and a half, a little over. Yeah.
With basically like, do you know how much you're eating per day roughly after the surgery?
I would have to go and look, but I know it was not more than 4 ounces at a time because they made you weigh that stuff out. They were
Yeah.
very cautious about that and really drilled that into you.
Yeah.
But,
Understandably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the kind of foods that they were, they give you this menu to follow, and it really was not what I would consider healthy at all. It was certainly healthier than what I had been eating, but it was still things like, you want a snack? Roll up a piece of ham and a slice of American cheese, or, here's a recipe for homemade meatloaf, or, something like that. And it's just like, I thought that was the answer at the time, but
Yeah.
clearly, knowing what I do now, like we're missing the boat. And that's why a lot of people have to go back for a second surgery, what they call a revision surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So revision surgery is basically where that second thumb part tissue has expanded to a full stomach, and then they have to reattach that to another smaller part.
Basically, yeah, they staple it a second time.
So now they have two sections that are not being used at that point.
Correct.
Okay. So basically, like you're technically skipping the steps of skill acquisition to make decisions for food and
Yes.
like lifestyle habits and all
Yeah.
those things. The
Yeah.
more people kind of continue to use the same method at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So where did whole food plant-based come into the picture?
Not for years after.
Okay.
And so, like, I was diligent about not going back to the old way of
Yeah.
eating. And for me at the time, that just meant like no more fast food, no more fried food.
Yeah.
And so I cut that out immediately after the surgery and just made up my mind to do that. But like, even still, like, I bottomed out and then the scale started to climb back up again. I was getting a little bit worried. And I remember like going to the surgeon, and like the surgeon was like, "You're one of our model patients. There's a reason why we'd love for you to come and speak to new patients but you really don't have anything to worry about. You need to eat a hamburger. To worry about. You need to eat a hamburger." Now,
Yeah.
notice I use the word need.
Yeah.
Not could if you want to, not should, need to. Like the dude straight up prescribed me a hamburger. I never ate the hamburger
Yeah.
because at that point I was very aware of how my brain would react to
Yeah.
such food. And that would have been like a complete disaster. It would have been a full-blown relapse.
Yeah.
And if I was willing to go so far as to rewire my intestines to lose weight, I sure as heck was not willing to do that a second time because that surgery sucked.
Yeah. I'm sure. What was the psychological, like emotional disconnection to food that happened? Because obviously I would assume you'd be less hungry after the surgery.
Yeah.
But did you still have those strong cravings for those foods?
Yeah, man, and I still get them to this day. I mean, that's the power of food. it took a while for those cravings to not bug me as much as they once did, or dictate my life really. But I, for whatever reason, woke up from the procedure and like all fast food was not just the enemy, but my mortal enemy.
Yeah.
And I remember, somebody in my family bringing me a cup of coffee from McDonald's, just a black cup of coffee, right? We're not talking French fries. We're not talking Big Macs. We're talking just a cup of coffee. But just seeing the logo with the golden arches like pissed me off. And I did not take so much as a sip of that coffee, and to this day have not had anything from any fast food restaurant now in more than 15 years, whether it's a cup of coffee, a bottle of water, or anything.
Yeah.
Just my enemy.
Was it because of the intensity of the action that you took to change your life that kind of made you shift, or was it? As it was.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was just like, come hell or high water, I'm just never, ever, ever going back. If I like am willing to go to this extreme, like, why in the world would I want to go back? Like, this is insane.
Yeah. So I'll put it this way. So before you had the surgery, the cravings were there, but you were simply acting on them.
Correct.
But now, because of the intensity of the actions, the craving were still there, but you decided not to take action on them.
Correct.
So how did you cope with the feeling inside of you wanting to go eat those foods?
I got you. All right. So initially, you're rewired so that, like, the first couple of weeks, you really don't want to eat anyway. Like, you're just like, you know, like. But ironically, you feel better because you're like getting rid of all that junk that had been built up in your system anyway. So it's like, it was weird. But then, when you start to reintroduce food, like I remember taking a bite of just something mundane, like a tuna fish sandwich, and just like crying because I was like the first solid food that I had had in over a month. Like literally started to cry over tuna fish. Like that's when, the cravings for that unhealthy stuff would start to come up, but I was just resolute in following that. And what I tell people now though is like, I call it accept the suck, right? So when those cravings hit for like 15, 20 minutes, whatever, your life is going to suck because that's all you can focus on, right? But if you give yourself permission to just be like grumpy and angry and upset and question like, why in the world am I craving so hard something that's so bad for me? Just give yourself permission to be normal, because that's exactly what you are. You're normal. Our brains are wired to love that type of food. That takes the edge off just enough until the craving eventually subsides. Yeah. Right. And over time, you'll get less and less and less of that. And I think that anybody who is a former smoker can kind of understand that, where the craving for a cigarette is really intense and very frequent initially, but over time you get fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer cravings. Yeah.
Because the initial sensation is, I have this discomfort, I have to act on it. Yes. And then eventually you accept it, like, I can feel it, but I don't necessarily need to do anything about it. And that's hard for people that love to, I say, take action, but also just kind of, it's the easiest path, basically. I was like, I feel this thing. I want to get rid of this uncomfortable feeling. Let me just have the cigarette. Let me just have the food.
And it's routine. It's habit. It's as much psychological as it is physical. It's just like, I'm not used to feeling this way. I don't want to feel this way. I'm not going to feel this way. Yeah. And the only way not to is to continue down that unhealthy path. Yeah. So you just got to retrain the brain. And that's the simplest way to put it. But again, accept the suck, because at the time, it sucks. Yeah.
I definitely have my addiction with food. So you sit with it, you're like, now you want to cry, but you're very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's weird, man.
It'd be so much easier to eat the cookie or eat the ice cream and the pizza.
So much easier. Yeah.
So along that journey, you transitioned to eating the whole food, plant-based.
Yeah.
Was that an element? Obviously, I'm sure health was a part of it, but was that an element that helped you kind of keep the weight off?
Oh yeah.
What was your introduction to it?
I was doing a sports radio show in Washington, D.C. with a NFL player there, a guy by the name of Adam Carricker. And he and I were doing a sports talk show, and we got approached by the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, shout out PCRM, about doing a PSA campaign with them. And that was the first time that we had ever heard of veganism. Like we knew
Yeah.
vegetarianism, but like not even milk, not even eggs. Like
How long
what?
ago was that?
Oh, this was got to be 10 years now. So yeah,
Oh,
this
before
was
it was cool. Before it was like a thing.
yeah,
Basically.
yeah. This was pre-cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then we did that, and so that was my introduction, and then didn't reconnect for another 3 or so years until I had interviewed a professional wrestler by the name of Austin Aries while he was still with WWE, and he was like, "Hey, man, I know you're a fitness guy, a health guy. You lost a lot of weight. You should really look into, eating this plant-based diet." And he, gave me the standard list of documentaries to watch, and I did, and I was like, oh my damn.
Yeah.
And flipped the switch overnight. Didn't know what I was doing. Was anything but whole food plant-based initially, but was definitely plant-based and kind of fine-tuned from there.
Yeah. What was it about the documentary that connected with you? Was it the health side, environment?
Health. 100%. I came at this from a health angle.
Okay.
I know that a lot of people come into this for animals and the environment as well, but for me, it was all about health, and then you learn about the other elements.
Yeah, it always ends up becoming about everything else after
Yeah.
once you're in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So from having lost so much weight, I think what most people talk about is like it's phenomenal. You lost all the weight. You've been able to kind of keep it off. But to any transformation, there's always a little bit of a downside. So even like when I did a bodybuilding show, you look great, but there's a downside to training for performance. There's a downside to losing a bunch of weight. There's always like a side where you're like, shit, I didn't know this was gonna come with it. Was there anything that you've noticed for yourself with that amount of weight loss?
Initially, no, because all of my labs actually improved. I mean, like if there was one thing that I got really maybe conscious about for a little while was the extra skin. I get asked about that a ton.
Yeah.
And so like when my wife, who was just my girlfriend at the time, we would go to the pool, I was just like floppy skin, just like everywhere. I was just like, I was the guy at the pool wearing a, full t-shirt and stuff as opposed to taking his top off. And, so I was pretty conscious about that, but like all of my labs were fantastic, and it was like had more energy than ever. So physical downside for me, there wasn't one. It was just that pesky extra skin. That said, I'd rather have the extra skin and be alive than dead without it.
Yeah. To me, if I see excess skin, I was like massive respect for that person, because they've undergone like a crazy transformation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They've had to put in the work, and it's like, it's the reason why most people struggle with it. So if someone's in that position, like they've put in an incredible amount of work that most people can't comprehend.
Yeah. I wish it was something that like you could donate to like the Goodwill or something. I was just like, just take it. Just like
the excess clothes, basically.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
Here's some extra clothes. And so, well, let's talk about, if you're cool with us, dive into some of the comments.
Yeah.
Online. Because when we saw each other was last, I think it was it was NHA, but so Seattle.
Yeah, at the Planted Expo, right?
Yeah. I think when we both shared the stage there, it was like I saw you spend more time with you there, and then a little bit at the NHA. I think when we were recording a podcast.
Yep.
Well, actually, let me go with this path. What made you want to start a transformation with me?
It's been an interesting 3 years, brother. People are starting to notice that the scale has started to creep back up, and they're kind of wondering, well, has he fallen off of his diet? No, that is not the case.
He hasn't. We've been together for the past 3 days.
Yeah, no.
He's clean.
I cannot go back to the way that I once was. I got very, very, very sick. And it's kind of been a mystery that has taken me from my local gastroenterologist to Johns Hopkins to the Mayo Clinic many, many, many times. I love the people there. Back to Hopkins, back to Mayo. And we're still kind of searching for answers. I'd say like I'm maybe 70% of the way back, but for basically all of 2024, I wasn't really able to eat hardly anything. And so my weight plummeted all the way down to like 117. And, you figure I never got the extra skin removed. They had estimated like you'll have 20 pounds of extra skin. So if you subtract that, like I'm below 100 pounds. Yeah. And, you know, I do have photos of me at that time without a shirt on, and it's just like I look like a friggin' skeleton. Like it was scary.
Yeah.
Very scary. Yeah.
Were you 117 when we ran NHA last June?
I was close to it. I mean, I was pretty thin. Like,
Yeah.
so even my 32-inch pants were just like super baggy on me, man. They looked like basketball shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rocking the Adam Sandler look.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And it was scary, man. I mean, like, and that actually all began on a trip to LA like 3 years ago now. Yeah. And I was speaking in Omaha at an engagement and was supposed to come out and film some stuff with Dr. Christy Funk.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't breathe. I felt like my entire chest was on fire and like just could not stop burping or anything. And I literally thought like this was the end. And, you know, Christy, Dr. Funk, she got me into, you know, see this great group of doctors out there, you know, was getting, you know, really good treatment and like, yeah, everything's kind of coming back normal right away.
Yeah.
And yeah, so begins the dig for answers.
Yeah. So it just randomly just kind of hit you and then all these symptoms started happening.
I had been really, really, really bloated for a couple of months leading up to that, like to the point where I was wearing an abdominal binder, that same type of binder that they had given me after the weight loss surgery, just to kind of like keep pressure and everything, you know, tucked in one place. And that kind of alleviated the bloating. And like, so on the exam room, when I talk to women who are talking about, you know, having symptoms with like PCOS or anything where they feel really, really, really bloated, like I can actually sympathize with them. The cause is going to be much different. Yeah. But I do know exactly what they're talking about, like when they're talking about like bending over the back of a chair just to put pressure like on the abdominal area, try to get some relief. I like found the hardest foam roller I could, and I would just like roll out my gut, and it was excruciatingly painful. And I was living like that for a few months before like everything hit the fan in Omaha and then LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you're still looking for kind of answers.
Yeah.
But what do you think would have been contributing factors to that with kind of what you've been through?
So it is not dietary related. Even the gastroenterologist is very confident on that, given the abundance of scans and tests and everything under the sun that I've been, you know, that I've undergone. And what the common theme is they think that basically stress broke me. Because even though I had very good control of my diet, there were portions of my life that were a complete disaster for a long time. And being ambitious and having so many life changes, very dramatic ones, just pile on top of each other, one after another, after another, after another. It was just too much, and something had to give. And yeah.
I think people talk enough about how stress can mess you up, even though if you do everything right? Yeah. You're trying to get enough sleep, you prioritize your nutrition, you're active throughout the day, you're getting your steps and you're getting some exercise. It'll just beat you to the ground,
mercilessly,
no matter how hard you try.
No, man. And it started shortly before my wife and I got married. Her mom got really sick, was in a coma for 6 weeks. And my wife and her mom were just the best of friends. I mean, thick as thieves, and talked on the phone multiple times every day. Anytime my wife had vacation time, it was just to go home to spend with her. Like, she lived for her mom. Her mom lived for her. They were just like super close.
Yeah.
Her mom recovers miraculously. Is at our wedding. It's great. Shortly after that, though, she gets diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And that began, you know, like a 4-year slow decline, and she eventually passed. Meanwhile, my wife lost her job in TV. She was very well known in the Washington, D.C. market for a long time, and was unceremoniously dumped by a station there who, you know, basically sold her a bill of goods, and she was very angry about that. You know, like, you grieve a loss, like that's your career of 25 years, and like one day it's just suddenly gone. And so I kind of became, you know, like, sounding board, the whipping post, like the outlet, and I'm a fixer. And I couldn't fix this one. And I didn't hold it against her that she was lashing out because of the circumstances, everything going on with her mom's health and now her job as well. Meanwhile, my mom was really sick. I went out to spend some time with her in the hospital when she almost died. And that's pretty stressful. I'm trying to work out, some old childhood trauma that had happened. And so Julie and I were just butting heads, and I'm trying to grow the show. The show's doing fantastic, like just took off like a rocket ship. And like that was my outlet. And I'm working like 16 hours a day, like trying to grow this thing, which is great. That's how we got to so many, subscribers and downloads. But I was not sleeping. I was not exercising. The only thing I was doing was eating healthy. And that's when I realized like food is hugely, massively important, but it ain't everything.
Nah.
And my body broke. And so one of the theories that the doctors have is kind of a newer diagnosis called a DGBI, which is a disorder of the gut-brain interaction. And my brain is basically stuck in fight or flight mode. The portion of your brain which is able to, control that basically burned out.
Yeah.
And, here I am stuck on it. And, here we are.
I'm sorry you've had to go through all of that. And, but when it seems like when life is happening, like it's happening and everything is kind of added to it, and you have nothing, like you have to show up, right?
Yeah.
Like you're showing up for your wife, you're showing up for your career, you're showing up for your family. And I think that's a position that a lot of people don't understand, that the stress that gets put on someone's shoulders. And I'm happy that you're working on it now and trying to reduce the stress.
Yeah.
Hopefully this trip to LA,
Oh man, we went golfing, man. It's cool. Yeah.
So with kind of those gut issues, what has that, like, how has that tied into you putting on a little bit of weight since you were at 117? Like, how does that kind of all tie in together?
I mean, just going through this and the 3-year search for answers. I mean, the thing that we haven't talked about yet is like every day, even right now, like I feel drunk or stoned a little bit.
Yeah.
And this is the part of it that doctors have not yet figured out.
You're high on life, Chuck, is what it is.
I wish it was that simple, brother. So there's still this area, like right here in the old sternum, like right behind it. There we go. Let me lean over and show it. Like it's right there. It's super ultra sensitive, and whenever like that gets agitated a little bit, like symptoms can range from heartburn to this crazy brain fog. And I don't like that term because it's so generic, and I think brain fog is a little bit different for everybody. But for me, it is literally like being drunk or stoned without the actual inebriation. And that comes with a great deal of, at least initially, a great deal of anxiety, because I didn't know when I would feel normal again, if I would ever feel normal again.
Yeah.
And so, like I would just cry like all day, every day, uncontrollably for a very long time before they kind of keyed in on some of the treatments that we're doing right now, which have kind of like calmed my nerves down. Which, because my nervous system is shot. So when I say like calm my nerves down, it's not just feeling nervous. It's like literally my nerves are super hypersensitive. So it's like I could squeeze your finger, be like, oh, he's squeezing my finger. But to me, it might feel like
you're getting
being hit
attacked
with a hammer.
Yeah.
So, and that's just kind of the way that my insides are right now. And, like I've consulted with so many doctors, and I'm so grateful to be in the position that I'm in, where I have access to this extraordinary level of care. Like I would not be this far along in my journey if it wasn't for the likes of Dr. Will Bolsowitz, who behind the scenes, like I am forever in his debt. Like when I say on my show that we are very good friends, like we are very good friends, because this man took care of me and got me linked up with some world-class people. Dr. Brian Carlson at the Mayo Clinic, who got me in. Dr. Iris Wang, I'm going to get choked up. Dr. Iris Wang, who's taken such good care of me at Mayo. Dr. Drossman, the Dross, as Will calls him, who just retired, but put me on this path with the DGBI. You know, even Erica Cerchetti at Johns Hopkins, I've only met with her once, but like she's really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And just I'm very fortunate to be in the position that I'm in to have these people. But anyway, that's an answer to the question of why is my weight coming back up. And I think that part of it, it's probably a number of things, multifactorial. Sorry to give you a long answer. I can't stand it when people do this on my show. But
we're on a podcast.
Yeah, I know,
the
man.
Format to do that.
I know. I think that my metabolism got shot because, you know, I could go back and show you my chronometer for the time when I was sick. I was struggling to get 200 calories a day.
Yeah.
Like if I had 2 tablespoons of peanut butter for a while, like that was a good day.
Yeah.
And so when you do that for a number of months, like 6 months, like that's how bad it was. Because whenever I would eat anything, the symptoms would just rage. I mean, rage. And I just decided I would rather, you know, whittle away than feel so sick. And I still felt like crap anyway. Even when I would drink water, like the symptoms would just wash over me horrifically. And so I eventually, you know, this treatment that I'm on now enabled me to start reintroducing foods. And we were very, very, very cautious at first. But now I'm pretty much back to eating what I had been eating before I got sick, which is great. Like I freaking love food, but I think my metabolism just got so whacked out.
For sure, on 200-300 calories. Yeah, I got used to it.
I did not have any of the reserves that I did when I was 420.
Yeah.
So, you know, what little reserves I had at 140, like they went away very quickly. And so the metabolism gets shot and, you know, a couple of other things here and there, and boom, like
adds back up.
It came back, and it came back, you know, pretty quickly. So I've gained like 65 pounds over the last year.
Yeah. Some of the things I want to address in that. So the feeling of sensation of like feeling drunk. So you're saying it kicks in and you don't know when it's going to end.
Correct.
I can see that being super annoying.
Yes.
Because you know if you do drink or do anything else, like you know that it'll die down after a while. But for you, it's just like, it may last a whole day or it may last 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That in and of itself is stressful.
Very. I mean, yeah. And I know that like when I wake up in the morning, 9 times out of 10, that's the only part of the day where I'm going to feel normal. Because I know like even if I move, like I could, you know, it could start up. And I know certainly like when I have breakfast, it's going to start up. You know, but thankfully, knock on wood, like we're at a point now where there are times when it barely happens. And like, that is sweet. That is a good day when that happens. Yeah. And sometimes I'll get like 2 or 3 of those days in a row. And I'm like, oh man, that's so good. And then like, boom, back to reality after a while. But, that's where we're at now. But compared to where I was just uncontrollably crying and like trying to keep doing the show, I missed very few shows while I was super sick.
Yeah. But you probably should have missed more.
I got a responsibility to help other people, man. Like that's what we do. Besides, if I didn't, you know, what else was I doing? It was like the show is still my sanity. Like I love it. You know?
Yeah. I had some health scare at one point, and I told Ivy, I was like, I need to slow down. I was like, I can't give myself cancer out of trying to help people and not have cancer. Like I had my little wake up moment, and so that's why I do the digital detoxes that we talked about. But it's no, I'm excited for you to have some downtime.
No, me too, man. And it sucks because I still don't know where all of this is going to end. And I'm also very cautious that, you know, with the exam room having the popularity that it does, people will say, well, you see, that's proof that a plant-based diet doesn't work for you. It's like, no. It's like, you know, it just so happens that, you know, unfortunately, Chef AJ, she got sick, you know, and now this is happening with me. We've seen it with a few others in the space as well.
Yeah.
the thing that honestly I've been thinking about is, how big of a role stress plays in this, because
Massive.
when somebody reaches that type of level, it's like they are busting their hump. You're not going to see it because
Yeah.
all you see is the amazing content that's being
Yeah.
created. But it is a grind, it is a struggle, and you cannot eat your way out of stress. You just can't do it.
I think that's one piece that people don't understand. Like, you do 2 shows a week for how many years now?
We're on season 8. Yeah.
Yeah, so 8 seasons. I did it for 1 year. This year I cut down to 1 because I was starting to get sick.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of work to find a guest, to record, to edit, to set up everything. AJ was doing that stuff every day for how many years? Like, just the coordination of finding a guest for every day is tough. And then just having to be on for that recording is, yeah, you definitely cannot, whole food plant-based or not whole food plant-based. You, like, stress will beat you to your knees. Even if you sleep well, eat whole food plant-based and exercise.
Yeah.
It beat me to my knees.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it kind of overrides everything.
Yeah. Stress is undefeated, man. It really is.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, you can't. What is it? You can't out exercise a bad diet. You can't out exercise, sleep, and eat healthy a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Yeah. But one thing I was thinking as you were sharing that, I feel like does it give you a greater appreciation for those little moments where you do feel good?
Yes. 100%.
Gives more joy out of life.
Yeah. It's like there's this intake form that you have to fill out when you become a patient at the Mayo Clinic, and they ask, what your expectations are.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wrote, I want to feel normal.
Yeah.
That's all I want, because I know how sweet normal can feel.
Yeah.
And that's not like, I don't
People
think that's
take it for
asking too
granted.
much. Yeah. People absolutely take it for granted every day.
Yeah.
And if this is my new normal, where I just kind of learn to not freak out while, this brain fog stuff is happening, like, then so be it. But
Yeah.
I'm able to manage it a lot better than I had been. But there's also this part of me, Max, it's just like, bro, I'm so hardwired to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And so it's like, now my life's mission is to figure this thing out.
Yeah.
And so, like, what else can we try? And I know, like, worst case scenario, I can fall back to exactly what it is I'm doing now and at least get back to like 80, 70, 80%, somewhere in that ballpark, close to normal. But I would love to get to 90, even 100%, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put something out there, and for
Put it
you
out
and
there.
for the people listening too. So when my late partner was going through her cancer as well, same thing she was saying. She's like, I just want to feel normal.
Yeah.
I don't want to run a marathon. I don't want to live a bunch of weight. I just want to be able to go for a walk and not be tired.
Yeah.
Right. I just want my body to ache when I'm going through it.
Yeah.
And because we're so hardwired to like do and accomplish and check off the list and do all of the things, because of the lessons I've gone through, I've realized that sometimes the best thing to check off my list is a massive block of nothingness. Right?
That's a beautiful thing, man.
The best thing to do is to do nothing for like, that's why I do a 1 week digital detox where I told you, I'll nap as much as I want, sleep as much as I want. Anything that makes me feel like a kid, I'll paint, I'll draw, I'll go ride a bike, play paintball, whatever.
Yeah.
Like a whole bunch of nothingness sometimes is the best thing to do.
Yeah.
To give the nervous system a break.
Yeah, I definitely need to pencil more of that in. That's still kind of my fatal flaw. It feels awkward to do nothing.
You feel guilty for not doing anything.
Yeah. And when we were driving around yesterday, I think you said like it takes you a few days, right, before you start to feel normal?
It takes me a full 3 days of napping and sleeping as much as I want before my brain disconnects from everything. Where I'm just like, oh, I feel like Maxim, like the kid Maxim that enjoyed life and didn't want to do all these things.
Yeah. Man, that sounds sweet. Because the other portion we haven't talked about this is one of the other myriad of diagnoses that they've given me is chronic fatigue syndrome. And so it's like my battery pretty consistently feels drained, especially because, again, you think about it, it makes sense. If your brain is stuck in fight or flight mode, even though you're asleep, you're not charging all the way, right? It's like
Yeah.
having a faulty charger for your iPhone.
Yeah.
It's just never going to get back to 100%. So I have to be really cautious of that. And I fully expect that when I return back to Washington, D.C. this week, I'm going to be wiped.
Yeah.
I'm going to absolutely be wiped. But we press on.
It's a weird story for you. Have you gone camping in the cold?
Yeah, it's been a while, though.
All right. So you know when you go camping and it's really cold outside, your body naturally wakes up because it knows that it needs to move to keep itself alive.
I don't know that I've been camping when it's that cold, brother.
Okay, so I have.
Okay.
But when you go camping and it's really cold, whenever you get to that temperature where your body feels like death might be a thing, it wakes up so that you can move your body so that you stay warm, basically. So when you're stuck in fight or flight, it's pretty much the same thing. You're going to bed and your body's like, there's a lion, there's a cougar, there's a bear around. Like you're not sleeping.
Yeah.
You're on high alert just for a sound or for something so that you can protect yourself.
Yeah.
Which is, again, like calming the nervous system, I think I'm excited for you. Once you kind of get to that place of like getting a good 8 hours of sleep uninterrupted.
Yeah, I'm pumped for it, man. I'm pumped for it. Cause like, look, let's run down like all the diagnoses here. And this will probably tell you like how much I would love the sleep thing. They gave me fibromyalgia. They've gave me like a diaphragmatic dysfunction where basically my diaphragm slips out of place and puts a little bit of pressure on my lungs, and that could be what's triggering the shortness of breath symptoms that I have, the chronic fatigue syndrome, the DGBI. Yeah, those are the big ones. Those are
pretty big ones.
Yeah, I mean,
we don't need to add to the
4.
list.
Limb swelling, edema, like it's pretty crazy. Sometimes like my legs will swell up for no reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I want you to recover from all these things, so you know that I'm here for you.
I appreciate
whatever
that.
It is you need, right? So I want to talk about the metabolism part for a little bit, because I think a lot of people, like you showed me some of the comments, and I'm sure we'll read some of them on here, but you showed me some of the comments that people were saying of like you putting on weight, and I feel like when you're in the public image of whole food plant-based, you have to be this perfect picture of health, and I think that's why AJ was scared to come out with her diagnosis for almost 2 years because of the perception of it and all these things. But the challenging part when you're in it is people will blame that as the first thing. It's like, if anything's going on in your life, it's because you're eating whole food plant-based without accounting for the other elements. So the fact that your body got basically 200-300 calories for several months, the body got adjusted to living off of that, basically, right? Because you couldn't eat more, so the body was like, well, we need to do our thing off of that. And I think that's when you went down to your lowest of 117, right?
Yes.
And so from there, you like you increase your food intake back to normal.
Yeah.
But the metabolism was like, hey, we're really efficient at 200-300 calories per day. Now we're at 2,000?
Yeah, we're in that
around 2,000 calories per day. The body's like, well, now we have excess of what we're used to, so let's just store it for the future. And because you already had these fat cells there that were empty, so much easier to load them up than it is to create a new fat cell. And so that's why kind of the weight came back on. But it's not because of whole food plant-based. It's just because like you were forced to undereat, and now you're going back, which I'm sure you feel so much better with the extra food intake. Yeah. And then the weight gain is just a side effect of it, but that will be able to come down now that we're going to address it properly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the plan. I mean, I'm not comfortable in this particular body. Like, it certainly feels better than 117. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, but it's like
the excess, like the normal amount of food must feel good in terms of energy every day.
It does, 100%. But I do not like the face that I see in the mirror. I do not like the fact that my pant size has gone up. I do not like the fact that my shirt size has gone up. And there is an extraordinary amount of pressure that comes with being the quote unquote weight loss champion. Yeah. And then, like,
you're changing your name, Jack Chuck.
Chuck. Cool. Yeah, man, let's do it. But the comments are a dagger, but nobody can say anything that I haven't already thought about myself. It's just, I don't like it when people make comments and they're operating under assumptions when they're dead wrong.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of why I'm happy that we're recording this, because I think online people don't have filters and are just going off of what they're seeing in the clip or in the photo, and they don't understand the full story behind it. Do you want to talk about
let
the
me
comment?
go. So I literally got this as I was landing in LA. And I texted you as I was walking off the flight. And I said, bro, I'm so glad we're recording because I have a lot to say about this. And this is somebody who...
I think it was like a public. There you go.
It was, yep. A woman who follows the show, was a big, follower of mine. And this was the second time she has posted. This particular person, this is the second time I saw something from her. And I'm reading this as we're descending into LAX. She said, I asked before but didn't get a response. Do you know what is contributing to starting for you to gain the weight back? I am asking from a good place. No judgment. Wait for it. As someone who has lost almost 300 pounds, I understand how easily we can gain weight back if we do not focus 100%. If I can be a resource, let me know. I enjoy your podcast, but continuing to share the same message of whole food, plant-based, no oil, and when we see you gaining weight, it seems disingenuous as folks don't normally gain weight when they're eating a whole food, plant-based, no oil diet. I think speaking about it and sharing would help your audience understand and also offer you support. I hope you can get it back under control before you gain a substantial amount back.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've gotten a few more messages and comments like that in the past few months.
Bro, yeah. That pissed me off.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to read because you know that you're doing everything right. You know that you're working really hard. You're working on your nervous system. You're working with all these doctors. You're eating whole food, plant-based. You're eating clean. You're not deviating.
Yeah.
You know?
And normally I don't respond.
Yeah.
This one just sent me through the roof because the audacity. So I sent her a message privately. Mm-hmm. I said, why would you ask that twice publicly? It's not what you think, nor is it anything that I've shared with an audience yet. Message a person if you're asking something like that privately, whether it's me or anyone else. Trust me, because public comments like that do not go over well. I thought I was going to leave it at that. I'm still steaming. I'm still steaming. I'm like, congratulations on your success, but you don't make assumptions about others. I have not, nor will I ever return to my old diet. We can never grow this movement if we continue to have judgmental attitudes toward others. Any judgment cast based on incorrect assumptions is dangerous, divisive, and infuriating. While you have soured my day, I still hope you have a blessed one. And then I pulled a Pat McAfee. Be a friend, tell a friend something nice.
Yeah.
And that's a nice way of saying, you know, pound sand.
Yeah.
And, they, to their credit, they wrote back and they were very apologetic. But it's like, as somebody who has lost 300 pounds, come on, man. You should know better.
The impact of those public comments.
Yeah.
Versus a private message.
Bro, I hadn't been fat shamed in friggin' years. And this woman is just coming hard with a megaphone. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah. Because it's putting it out there.
Yeah.
Right?
I knew coming out here I was going to put everything on the podcast, so the timing is coincidental. I don't want her to think that she's the reason you and I are sitting down here. This was set up in advance.
The flight was booked before.
But yeah, man, it's just don't operate under an assumption.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go on the exam room and lie about anything.
Yeah. And to be fair, when you're on the exam room, it's about the guest that you're interviewing.
100%
right?
Anyway, yeah.
You very rarely will do solo episodes. I don't know if you really do.
I've never done a solo episode, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm the only one that does this, I guess. I'll do solo episodes. But this episode is about you and sharing your story. But you're doing the right thing when you're on the exam room and interviewing the guests, making it about them.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like people are looking to fault the whole food plant-based movement. Maybe some of them are a part of it, but they don't fully believe it. So they're kind of looking for that little it doesn't work because I saw this. But again, they don't get the full picture of what is happening. And health is a lot more complex than just nutrition.
100%. And that's what I learned. I put all of my plant-based eggs in the proverbial egg basket of nutrition. And yeah, man, I wish I would have put some in some other buckets there too, man, because then perhaps we'd be talking about something much different today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think this is a perfect conversation because most people, they'll see like your transformation or like some of the transformation that we post online, and they're like, it was easy for them. It was a perfect thing. Like life was perfect. They lost the weight. Life is great after, and now they're fit. But that's just not the reality. Like it is a hard process. There's bumps that come in the road. It's people never have the full picture. That's why anytime I interview anyone for any transformation, I'm like, what was the hard stuff? Like there's no way this was easy and this happened perfectly.
No.
Yeah.
Nothing this dramatic is ever easy, the good or the bad. It's, somebody put in a lot of work and a lot of things happen for something amazing to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think people understand like the mental resilience that you have, and that is required to be able to lose that amount of weight and then go through some of those complications and still show up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the still showing up is the part that people struggle with. Like, it's hard. Pfft. Whatever. It was easier to kind of go back to what you were doing before.
Yeah. It'd be easy to throw in the towel here. Like there were days, bro, when I honestly did throw in the towel. Like I wasn't actively going to do anything about it, but I kind of resigned myself. Like if I'm going to die, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
And like, matter of fact, we didn't even touch on that. It was like, I will never forget one day being at the doctor's office at Johns Hopkins, one of the greatest medical facilities in the entire world. And I asked the doctor that day if I was going to die, and she said she didn't know. She didn't know. She did not know.
And what was that?
That was, February of 2023.
Okay. Like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Or 20, I don't know, or 2024. 24. Hell, man, I don't know. Time is just like crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the exact date,
Yeah.
but I will never forget that conversation. And so when you have a leading medical professional tell you, like, they can't say for certain whether or not you're going to die, like, that's pretty disconcerting. And, like, my primary care physician was like, Chuck, I've done everything that I can for you, man. If you need a prescription refill, call me. Other than that, you're in the hands of other people now.
Yeah.
And it's just like, is this really my life? You know?
How do you navigate that?
I felt sorry for myself for a little while. And I just remembered thinking, like, I'm not dead yet. I can't do this to Jules, who is in the midst of suffering a just horrific loss herself. I gotta keep pushing because I'm still drawing breath. And I remember what I say on the show is like, as long as you're drawing breath, you still have a chance. And so I kind of had to give myself that same kind of pep talk. And that's when, like, the old me came back and was like, not old 420-pound Chuck, but like really motivated to, like, keep pushing, came back. And I just would have to give myself pep talks and, like, and I would find on Instagram, you know, some people that I really like to follow, like the account Tubby Nugget, like, saved my life, I feel like, a couple of times.
Is that with your hat?
It is.
Yeah.
That is on my hat. Yeah. Not a vegan account, but man, this little nugget is just full of, like, good vibes and good energy. And when I was at my worst, you know, he kept me going. And I remember, like, having to just, like, watch over and over and over again, you know, some of these videos just to put a smile on my face. You know, you talked about, like, do something that makes you feel like a kid again.
Yeah.
And that's what that did. And I felt better, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild, dude. It's freaking wild.
Yeah.
You know, to be a 42-year-old man talking about watching cartoons to feel better. Not the cool anime stuff that's out there, bro. Yeah. We're talking about Tubby Nugget, which is very cool, mind you. Like, all the cool kids watch Tubby Nugget.
I'll have to look into Tubby Nugget.
Yeah, Tubby Nugget. Get you an ube muffin. Just make sure it's vegan.
Okay. I'll definitely look it up after.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there's, like, I think that's what's cool is, like, you never know what is going to resonate with people, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have my own stuff that I watch to kind of, you know, and people wouldn't expect. There's, like, some cartoons that we'll watch or some stupid shows. Like, I just love watching, like, fail videos or Like,
Those are the best.
yeah, those are the best. Or like, I like the ones when people mess with the wrong people and then they just like fight back. It just kind of gives the feeling of like back against the wall, and you're like, oh yeah, like I'm just gonna fight through this shit. So everyone has their thing to kind of like go to that next level and to keep them motivated.
I bet we follow a lot of the same accounts. There's some F around and find out accounts that are just so good.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
just so good.
There's
Yeah.
just like a testosterone
Yeah.
boosting element
yeah,
to it.
yeah. It's just like you.
Hey, but the thing is, like, when you're in those hard moments, for the people that have been in those hard moments, you just, hey, there's no judgment. You find what you need to do to get yourself to like
Yeah,
show up
yeah,
and like be consistent and
Yeah.
do the thing you need to do.
yeah.
You know? I think having a strong supportive partner makes a big difference.
Huge. Couldn't have done this without Jules. I tried to shield her from a lot of this for a while she was grieving her mom, and so I actually went and moved in with my mom immediately after they took my gallbladder out. Well, yeah, that's another thing. They took my gallbladder out last February because they thought that was the problem. Was not the problem.
So you could have kept it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Come to find out. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I've been told that in no uncertain terms. It's like the surgeon was like, the gallbladder was angry. And so it's like when I woke up from the surgery, I was like, oh boy, great. We finally got it. And like,
Felt the same.
yeah. And like major panic attacks in the hospital. They thought that I was coding, you know, just because I was having like just such a crazy panic attack. It's just like, it's just no good. It's just no good. But I'm glad that I'm here now. Definitely. And we're just gonna keep going, man. That's what it is. I mean, like I just came as we record this from the Mayo Clinic a few days ago for the latest check, and I have to go back in a couple of months for more tests. So yeah.
Well, I'm happy you have like a path of what is happening, because I remember when we spoke at the PCRM conference last year, you had just started to figure out that it might be I think it was like nervous system kind of related.
Yeah,
Because at first you were on a completely different path.
It's 100% GI. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now the thought is the nervous system is dictating the GI, because when you're stuck in fight or flight mode, your digestive tract does not move well.
Yeah. When people say you can't stress or digest at the same
exactly.
time, right?
And that's so true. Yeah.
So you're kind of stuck in stress, and the stomach doesn't have the ability to digest as properly as it should, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah. Because the blood's deviated away from the digestive tract to go to your muscles and stuff, so that like you can actually run away from the lion, you know, the way that over years we've, you know, our bodies have evolved to, you know, have that kind of response. So, yeah.
So I'd love to talk about like decreasing the stress on the nervous system, because I'm sure you've learned quite a bit as you've kind of been going through this journey. So I think we live in an overstressed society.
Yes.
Overstimulated, go, cell phone scrolling, work, and just kind of, you know, working more than 40 hours per week. So what are kind of ways that you've implemented since you've kind of discovered this, that the issue might be connected to the nervous system? Like, what are new things that you've implemented to help alleviate that?
Yeah, well, one, I've cut way back on the number of hours that I've worked. And even though like that has cost us downloads and views, like my colleagues have been nothing but supportive of that. And God bless them. And so I have a hard cap, like right at 40 hours.
Yeah. What were you doing before?
Oh my God, like 65, 70, 80. Like,
oh, wow.
I was just like long days.
Yeah.
You know? Partially of my own doing, because I was trying to escape into that to like not have to deal with everything else that was
like the
going
hard
on.
things. Yeah.
But you know, success is addictive.
It is, and it's a very good distraction.
Yes.
It's easy to run to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so I've cut way back on that. I tried acupuncture, really like that, and then insurance was like, oh, we're not going to cover it. So I was like, okay, acupuncture, no more. Yeah, even with insurance, like I spent like close to $40,000 on medical bills out of pocket.
Yeah.
Like, last year.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. Finally got to write all that stuff off.
You know, move
my
to
taxes.
Canada, man.
Bro, that's a whole other show. Don't get me going. But the healthcare system here is a joke.
Yeah.
I will look in the camera and tell you the healthcare system is a joke here. But anyway, so acupuncture was really great. Took up yoga. I never thought that I would be like much of a yoga guy, but it's been a godsend. There's been this great place in the small town where my wife and I live now in Southern Maryland, where it's just like the coolest people, you know, really chill. You don't have to be like the perfect yogi to practice there.
Like in LA.
Yeah, dude. It's not a glamour thing. It's like people are just there to like stretch out. Like we got, you know, people in there who are as young as like 20 something and then, you know, well into their 70s and 80s, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of them are all tatted up and like they're just like let's friggin' stretch. Yeah, dude. I was like, cool. Like, and then, you know, we zen out at the end of it, and it's not like who's got the tightest abs, who's got the, you know, nicest buns or anything like that. It's just like we're here to put in work and to get better. And they make you set an intention with every single practice. Like, what is it that you're working on today? And for me, it's always just like getting better. Or today I want to address brain fog or heartburn or whatever, you know, if I'm having another GI symptom, like whatever that is. So it's a specific purpose. And like just to focus on that for an hour is really good. And then like hopping on the treadmill again, like is a lot of fun. And then like finding like going back and just like rewatching some of these old shows that I grew up watching, just to like, you've seen them 100 times, but it's like comfort food without the calories, you know?
Yeah.
And luckily I'm at a point where I can, you know, watch an old episode of Perry Mason or something and not, you know, like just mindlessly eat. Like I can just sit there and sip water or a cup of coffee and just be as content as can be. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, there's an element of nostalgia from like, looking at those shows. It just makes you feel good.
It takes me back to my grandma's house after school, growing up as a little kid, man.
Yeah, it was simpler days.
There. I wish I could go back to that time, man.
Yeah. I got my mom with still. I was like, shit, no bills, no payroll, none of this stuff.
Adulting is not for the faint of heart, bro.
It isn't, especially living out here.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Well, out here in California, but America in general. Like, I like Canada a lot better, but this is gonna come out after my immigration interview, so I'm fine. It's not on camera.
Do we need an American flag in the background?
Yeah, we'll throw an American flag with the CGI it basically in the background.
I'm not ashamed of America. There's some things that need some work, and I think, you know, everybody can agree on that. You know, and I think that's why people get so fired
Canada
up.
too, but
what country is perfect? Yeah. But healthcare should be, in my opinion, like a fundamental right. Like nobody should have to choose between paying a mortgage or, you know, being healthy. Like it's asinine to me.
I've never, like, we talked about this when we were playing golf yesterday. You said like, no, I'm working on all these things, like, and I want to make sure that I don't end up in medical debt. Yeah. Like that's a new concept to me. Like I've never heard of medical debt when I was living in Canada. And in Canada, you're sick, you got a little something, you go to hospital, and you don't think twice about going to the hospital. Here, it's like, do I take an ambulance? Okay, well, it costs this much. If I go and see, it's going to cost this much to see a doctor. And like just my wrist, that was like $450.
Yep.
Just to see a doctor and get a scan, basically.
With insurance, right?
No insurance. I was out of pocket. Yeah, I don't have insurance here.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah. I was like, I'm getting traveler's insurance from Canada. The Canada car. It's way cheaper.
Gotcha.
But yeah, like you see people at the room that are just like, I don't know if I really need to go see a doctor. I'm like, your hand is like the opposite direction that it's supposed to be in, but they don't have the money to go and like see a doctor. It's like not used to having to make those decisions.
Yeah, dude.
Here compared to Canada.
Yeah, we have a mutual friend, Canadian. You know, he tore his ACL. I remember him telling me the story. He's like, yeah, I had to wait 6 months to get the procedure, but I didn't have to pay a dime.
Yeah.
You know? And of course, if it's a life or death situation, you're not waiting 6 months, for goodness sakes. But like, come on.
Yeah, you fracture or whatever. Just you wait a little bit, but that's it.
Yeah.
You know, you're not $5-10 grand.
No.
In the hole.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Oh, well, I'm happy we're able to dive into your story because it is tough when you're in the public eye. People always have these assumptions of you and kind of how things are going, and just from what they hear from the podcast, but they forget that there's personal Chuck behind the weight loss champion, behind the exam room podcast. And man, you are a freaking champ for all the things that you're going, like as you were sharing all the conditions and the diagnosis that you got, I was thinking of like the majority of people live in pain and with some form of diagnosis, whether it's just like knee pain, back pain, or neck pain. You get used to it and then you live life with all of these things, and you forget what is life without knee pain and back pain and stomach pain and digestive pain or brain fog. Like you forget, you get so used to just living with pain, and people treat it as a normal. It's like, I feel fine. Yeah. Although you don't know yet what fine is. Yeah. There's like a whole other level of how good you could feel.
Yeah. Like I said, I just want to get back to normal, and I don't want to lose sight of what normal was. It's like, I'm so grateful to be here today and feel the way that I do. It's far from perfect, but it's also a far way from when I was at my worst.
Yeah.
And so that gives me hope to keep marching forward as well. Like if I've made this much progress over the last, 6-7 months, like then, what's the next 6 or 7 months going to look like? Hopefully there's going to be a radical transformation in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you go camping for a whole month and you go offline.
I mean, I'm more of a glamper, dude. I got spoiled, dude. It's like the whole idea of laying on the ground when I've got a perfectly good bed at home, just, I don't know.
You go glamping. You get a nice bed.
I'll glamp.
Yeah. But just the aspect of doing nothing.
Yeah.
Is it's a weird skill that I think the majority of men in society are lacking at this point.
Yeah.
Because it feels unproductive.
Yes.
But it is the most productive thing you can do sometime.
You know what I really want? I want to do like a true staycation where I don't even have to do any chores.
Yeah.
But I will give you my wife's phone number, and you can say that you're Dr. Maxim.
Yeah.
And you're prescribing a full week of Chuck doing jack shit.
Yeah.
And that would be fantastic.
I'll do it.
So, yeah.
Well, we got doctor friends. We can get them to call too.
We absolutely could. Yeah.
We know a lot of doctors between the two of us.
No doubt.
And you get Dr. Furman, you get Dr. Or you get everyone calling.
Pile on. Dr. Tevis in the back room over there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I could just use a week of like just chill. Because honestly, like these trips to do the conferences, the medical visits, being out here and spending time with you has been like phenomenal. It's been like a vacation. But I'm going to be tired when I get home. I know that.
Yeah, it is a little bit, but you're still grabbing a flight and changing time zones, which is, if you're not dealing with nervous system stuff, it's still hard.
Yeah.
So the fact that your body's still stuck in fight or flight, like a flight is tough, even if you're not dealing with any of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited for you to get some rest.
I'm excited too. I am nervous about the flight home. I'm in a middle seat for 4 hours.
Okay.
I've never done a middle seat before. Like I've somehow lucked into the aisle or the window every single time.
Yeah. We'll see if we can change that.
I have tried every day, twice a day for the past 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
And that is a sold out flight, brother. And there are no other options.
No?
Yeah.
We'll make you stay longer in LA. We'll get
Bet. I will stay another day to have an aisle seat. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd like to open the floor for you to kind of share, like, how can people support you currently with everything that's happening?
It's not so much supporting me. I think
understand.
Just compassion. Like when you see somebody who is changing in your eyes initially for the worse, don't assume the worst about them.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that person's going through something. And, don't come at me with your claws out. I'm not expecting, the comments to stop because, people are going to people. But, if you want to do anything, just be like, you remember that Leave Britney Alone movement, like Britney Spears, like 15, 20 years ago? If anybody like starts joning me on Instagram, just like comment underneath, leave Chuck alone, just something like that. I would get a kick out of that personally. I would think it's hysterical.
Yeah. Hashtag leave Chuck alone.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, I'm going to be working hard to, try to right the ship and get the body back under control, get more comfortable there. And, I think having a stronger body is only going to serve me even better. So it's going to be a great stress release with all the exercises you're going to put me through. And I'm just looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, man, I'm excited to coach you. I'm excited for you to go through the program and kind of fix the metabolism situation a little bit. Because like I said, we're going to reverse diet first and speed it up, get it in a good place. Then we'll go into the fat loss after.
Yeah.
And then reverse at the end to leave you in a good position. Yeah. But the food part for metabolism is pretty straightforward. But then the workouts will just have to be methodical with it, with understanding the body is in fight or flight. Like we can't go too hard.
Yeah.
So we'll meet you where you're at. And so I know today we're going to record a workout video and a cooking video with some of your favorite go-to recipe.
Yeah.
When you're traveling. So we'll start the trend that leave Chuck alone.
Leave Chuck, hashtag leave Chuck alone, or send well wishes. One of the two.
And again, like, you've had such an inspirational journey, and I think that's just going to add to it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's always being written. But the fact that you're still showing up, even with kind of the uncertainty, man, you always have a smile on your face. Like, every time I see you, you're always in a good mood, regardless of how you're feeling. Like, I didn't know that that's how you were feeling right now, like a little bit drunk and all that. Like, you hide it really well.
Thank you.
You're a good drunk. You're just good drunk and bad.
It's my Irish heritage. Yeah.
Your ability to handle it and hide it.
Yeah. High tolerance. Yeah, man. And I'm not a huge man of faith, but I will say, like, I do believe that I was given this challenge for a reason, and that is to help other people. Like, I think I'm just wired for resilience and just like to keep going and to be that role model for others. And so, like, the people who I have no idea who they are, but they're struggling right now, like, that's who I'm fighting equally hard for, is to get right, so I can share this story with a happy ending and get them going on the right page too. Yeah.
To be of service is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, man.
But we have to remember that we have to be around to continue to serve.
Yes.
That's a hard lesson I'm still handling.
Yeah.
So I know we all are.
Yeah.
All the high achievers.
Yeah.
Have to remember we have to be around to continue to serve.
Yeah. Work in progress. In progress.
Well, man, I'm excited for your transformation. We're gonna go record some cooking video, some workout. But I appreciate you coming down to LA, recording with me, hitting some golf balls, playing pool.
Good times.
Yeah.
Do not play pool with his wife. Just don't do it. You will lose every time.
Yeah, Ivy kicks butt. Yeah.
Majorly.
Well, Chuck, man, massive thank you for coming on. And just for everyone listening, again, I'm sure all you guys came here from exam room anyways, but I'll link the exam room down below, and I'll put your Instagram as well, because I want you to start doing some cool things.
Cool. I'll do some cool things.
Yeah.
I'll do some cool things.
Yeah. So we're going to link all that below. If you guys haven't listened to the show, highly recommend that you do. And we will see all of you in the next episode.